Her husband left her for being barren. Now she's holding a scalpel over a 14-year-old girl's abdomen in a clinic with no backup, no anesthesia, and no way out. The girl is unconscious, dying, 6 months pregnant, and she didn't even know it. The baby is breech, in distress. The nearest hospital is 40 minutes through Lagos traffic. They won't make it. Maya's hands are shaking so violently she can barely grip the instrument. The fluorescent lights flicker overhead. The smell of rubbing alcohol and fear fills the cramped room. A man stands against the wall, the girl's father. 42 years old, 5 children. Widowed. He works as a night watchman now, but his hands tell a different story. Steady hands. Architect's hands. 4 more children watch from the doorway. The youngest is 5. She's praying in Igbo. Maya makes the first incision. Blood wells. The girl's vitals drop. The baby isn't moving. 10 years ago, Maya was the most celebrated maternal-fetal medicine specialist in West Africa. She pioneered surgical techniques that saved thousands of mothers. She was chief of obstetrics at the country's top hospital. Then her husband stood in front of their colleagues and told them she was broken, barren, unworthy. He left her for a younger woman who gave him 3 children. Maya swore she'd never deliver another baby. Every birth was a reminder of the children her body refused to give her. But tonight, in this suffocating clinic with these 5 terrified children watching, she's about to break that vow. Because sometimes the people who choose you when you're broken are the ones worth breaking for. And if you believe second chances aren't just given, they're earned in the moments when everything is on the line, stay with this story. Because what happens next will restore your faith that the world still rewards those who show up when it matters most. Before we begin, hit subscribe and tell me in the comments, have you ever had to become someone you thought you'd left behind? But to understand how a world-class surgeon ended up performing an emergency C-section on a folding table in a Port District clinic, we need to go back 3 months, to the day Maya Okonkwo stopped being a doctor and started being invisible. The clinic sat on the edge of Lagos's Port District, wedged between a fish market and a shipping container yard. The air inside hung thick and stale. The 3 ceiling fans rattled overhead, but did nothing to cut the afternoon heat. Maya Okonkwo moved through the cramped space with mechanical efficiency. She cleaned a dock worker's lacerated hand. She stitched a vendor's knife wound. She bandaged a child's infected foot. She spoke only when necessary. Her voice was flat. Her hands were steady. The patients came and went. Most paid in small bills or coins. Some paid in nothing at all. Maya didn't ask. She treated them, handed them antibiotics from her dwindling supply, and moved to the next. By 4 o'clock, the waiting area was finally empty. Maya wiped down the examination table with bleach. The chemical smell burned her nose. She tossed the rag into a bucket and reached for the next patient file. The door swung open. A woman stepped inside. She was young, maybe 25, and her dress clung to her body with sweat. Her hand rested on the curve of her belly. She was 7 months pregnant, maybe 8. Maya's jaw tightened. The woman approached the desk. "Please, doctor, I need help." Maya didn't look up. "The hospital is on Broad Street, 40 minutes by bus." "I went there already." The woman's voice cracked. "They said I need to pay up front. 5,000 naira just for the first appointment. I don't have it." Maya kept her eyes on the file in front of her. "I don't do prenatal care." "But you're a doctor." "I treat injuries, infections, nothing else." The woman stepped closer. Her hands gripped the edge of the desk. "Please, I just need someone to check if the baby is okay. I've been having pains, I don't know if it's normal. I don't know what to do. Maya's fingers stilled on the paper. She forced herself to breathe. In, out, slow and controlled. There's a clinic in Ikeya, she said. They offer discounted rates for… Ikeya is 2 hours away. I can't afford the transport. Maya finally looked up. The woman's face was drawn, desperate. Her eyes pleaded. Maya looked away. I can't help you. The woman's breath hitched. Why not? Because I don't do obstetrics. But you could just… No. Maya's voice cut through the air like a blade. Go to the hospital. Borrow the money. Find a relative. I don't care, but I can't help you. The woman's shoulders sagged. Tears welled in her eyes. She didn't say another word. She turned and walked out. The door slammed shut. Maya sat alone in the silence. Her hands trembled. She pressed them flat against the desk until they stopped. She stood, walked to the back room, locked the door behind her. The room was barely large enough for a cot and a filing cabinet. Maya knelt beside the cabinet and pulled open the bottom drawer. Underneath a stack of old medical journals was a wooden box. She lifted the lid. Inside was a single photograph in a silver frame. The woman in the photo was younger, confident. She wore surgical scrubs and stood in the center of a gleaming operating theater. Colleagues surrounded her, smiling. In her hands, she held a plaque. The engraving was too small to read in the photo, but Maya knew every word by heart. Outstanding achievement in maternal-fetal medicine. Dr. Maya Okonkwo, Lagos University Teaching Hospital. She traced her finger along the edge of the frame. That woman didn't exist anymore. Maya placed the photo back in the box, closed the lid, shoved the drawer shut with more force than necessary. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out. A social media notification lit up the screen. Dr. Emeka Okonkwo has posted an update. Her thumb hovered over the notification. She should delete it. She should turn the phone off. She should stop torturing herself. She tapped it anyway. The post appeared. A professionally taken photo. Emeka stood in a tailored suit, his arm around a woman with smooth skin and a radiant smile. She was heavily pregnant. 3 young children sat at their feet, dressed in matching outfits. The caption read, "Excited to announce my candidacy for President of the Nigerian Medical Association. With your support, we'll continue building a healthcare system that serves everyone. Grateful for my family's love and encouragement during this journey." Other comments were already flooding in. Congratulations, you have my vote. What a beautiful family. Maya's throat closed. She stared at the woman beside Emeka, the pregnant belly, the glowing skin. The children clustered around her like proof of worth. Maya's finger moved to the delete button. She pressed it. The notification disappeared. She shoved the phone back into her pocket. The sun was setting outside. Orange light slanted through the grimy window. Maya grabbed the mop from the corner and filled the bucket with water and disinfectant. She dragged the mop across the floor in long, methodical strokes. Back and forth. The repetitive motion numbed her mind. This was her life now. Treating injuries, mopping floors, going to bed alone. It was enough. It had to be. The mop hit the baseboard with a dull thud. Maya rinsed it in the bucket and started again. The clinic door remained closed. The street outside grew quiet. The port district settled into its evening rhythm, shouting vendors, rattling carts, the distant hum of generators. Maya worked until the floor gleamed, until her back ached, until the light outside faded to black. She emptied the bucket into the drain behind the building. She locked the front door. She turned off the lights. And then she sat on the cot in the back room and stared at the wall until exhaustion finally dragged her under. She didn't know that tomorrow night a man with 5 children would walk through her door and shatter the carefully constructed prison she'd built around herself. The clinic door slammed open just as Maya reached for the light switch. A man stumbled inside, carrying a teenage girl in his arms. 4 children poured in behind him. Their faces were streaked with tears and dust. "Please," the man gasped. "She won't wake up." Maya's hand froze on the switch. She turned. The girl in his arms was limp. Her skin gleamed with sweat. Her eyes were half open but unfocused. She clutched her stomach with both hands. "Put her on the table," Maya said. The man lowered the girl onto the examination table. His hands shook. The 4 children pressed against the wall, silent and terrified. The youngest was maybe 5 years old. She held a stuffed rabbit against her chest. Maya moved to the table. She pressed 2 fingers to the girl's wrist. The pulse was rapid, thready. Her skin burned. "How long has she been like this?" "Since this morning," the man said. "She said her stomach hurt. I thought it was food poisoning. But then she couldn't stand. She started vomiting. The fever got worse." Maya pulled a thermometer from the drawer, slipped it under the girl's tongue. When it beeped, the reading made her jaw tighten. 39.4 degrees Celsius. She pressed her hand against the girl's abdomen. It was hard, distended, wrong. Maya's breath caught. She pressed again, lower. The girl moaned, her eyelids fluttered. "When was her last period?" Maya asked. The man blinked. I don't know. I'm her father. She doesn't tell me those things." Maya looked at the girl. Her face was pale, young, too young. "How old is she?" 14. Maya's stomach twisted. She leaned closer to the girl's face. "Can you hear me?" The girl's eyes opened slightly. She nodded. "I need to ask you a question. When was your last period?" The girl's lips moved. No sound came out. Maya leaned closer. It's okay. Just tell me." "I don't know," the girl whispered. "Months. They're always irregular." Maya's hands moved on autopilot. She lifted the girl's shirt, pressed along the abdomen again, measured the distance from pubic bone to the top of the swelling. Her mind calculated, recalculated, rejected the answer, and calculated again. No. She looked at the father. His face was desperate, confused. Maya's voice came out steady despite the roaring in her ears. "Your daughter is pregnant." The man staggered backward. "What?" 6 months. Maybe more." Maya's hands didn't stop moving. She checked the girl's pulse again. Listened to her breathing. "And she's in labor." The girl's eyes went wide. No, I can't be. I didn't know," she sobbed. "I swear I didn't know." The youngest child started crying. The father stood frozen, his mouth open. Maya pushed the girl's knees up, checked the position. Her fingers found what she feared they'd find. Breech. She pulled her hand back and stripped off the glove. Her heart hammered against her ribs. "The baby's in the wrong position," she said. "She needs a C-section. Now." The father's voice cracked. "Then do it." "I can't." "You're a doctor." "I don't do obstetrics." Maya stepped back from the table. Her hands were shaking. She shoved them into her pockets. "The hospital is on Broad Street, 40 minutes from here. You need to go now." The father looked at his daughter, at the sweat pouring down her face, at the way her body trembled. "She won't make it, will she?" Maya's throat closed. She wanted to lie. She wanted to tell him everything would be fine if he just left, if he just took this crisis somewhere else. But she'd taken an oath once, a long time ago. "No," she whispered. "She won't." The father's knees buckled. He caught himself on the edge of the table. The girl on the table moaned. Her back arched. A contraction rippled across her abdomen. The baby was coming whether anyone was ready or not. Maya's vision blurred. Her chest tightened. She couldn't breathe. She turned toward the door. "I'm sorry. I can't help you. You need to go." The father crossed the room in 3 steps. His hands gripped her shoulders. Not rough, not violent, just desperate. His eyes were red. His face was wet. "Please," he said. "She's all I have left of her mother." Maya looked past him at the girl on the table, at the 4 children huddled against the wall, at the 5-year-old with the stuffed rabbit who'd stopped crying and was just staring with enormous eyes. Since she looked at the father's hands on her shoulders, hands that were calloused and scarred but steady, hands that had held this family together through something terrible. She thought of the photograph in the locked drawer, the woman in surgical scrubs who saved mothers and babies. That woman was dead. But this girl wasn't. Not yet. Maya's hands stopped shaking. Her breath steadied. Her mind went cold and clear. "Lock the door," she said. Marcus turned the deadbolt. The sound echoed through the empty clinic. Maya pulled the curtains closed. Her fingers fumbled with the fabric. Outside, the port district hummed with late-night activity. Generators, voices, the distant blare of a truck horn. Inside, the air was thick and still. "Put the children in the back room," Maya said. Marcus hesitated. "They should stay. They should know what you're doing for us. They're too young. They've already seen too much." His voice was quiet, steady. "Let them stay." Maya looked at the 4 children pressed against the wall. The oldest boy stood with his arms around his siblings. The little girl with the stuffed rabbit had stopped crying. Her eyes were wide and unblinking. Maya turned away. "Fine, but they stay by the door. Don't let them come closer." She moved to the small sink and scrubbed her hands. The water ran cold. She counted to 30. Her training came back in fragments. Protocol. Procedure. Steps she'd performed 1,000 times in operating rooms that smelled like antiseptic and hummed with machines. This room smelled like bleach and fear. She dried her hands on a clean towel, pulled on latex gloves. The snap of rubber against her wrists was too loud. Chiamaka lay on the table, her breathing shallow. Another contraction rippled across her abdomen. She whimpered. Maya grabbed a metal pot from the supply shelf and filled it with water. Set it on the hot plate to boil. Dropped her surgical instruments inside. Scalpel, forceps, clamps, needle holder, scissors. While the water heated, she prepared the anesthesia. Local only. She had no general anesthesia. No ventilator. No monitors. Just her hands and 10 years of muscle memory she'd tried to bury. She pulled her phone from her pocket, opened a medical textbook app, found the chapter on emergency cesarean sections. The diagrams were small on the cracked screen, but she'd performed this surgery enough times that the images were just confirmation. The water boiled. She fished out the instruments with tongs and laid them on a sterile cloth. Marcus stood beside the table. "Tell me what to do." "Hold this." She handed him a flashlight. "Don't move it. I need steady light." He gripped it with both hands. The beam illuminated Chiamaka's abdomen. Maya injected the local anesthetic along the planned incision line. Waited. Tested the area with the tip of a clamp. Chiamaka didn't flinch. Maya picked up the scalpel. Her hand shook so violently, the blade wobbled in the air. She set it down, pressed her palms flat against the table. Breathed in, out, in. From the doorway, the little girl's voice rose in a whisper. She was praying in Igbo. The older boy joined her. Maya picked up the scalpel again. This time, her hand was steady. She made the first incision. Blood welled along the cut. She worked quickly. Skin, fat, fascia. Each layer peeled back under her fingers. She clamped bleeders, suctioned with a bulb syringe meant for babies. Marcus didn't move. The flashlight beam stayed locked on her hands. Behind him, the oldest boy stepped forward. "What do you need?" "Gauze. Top drawer. Left side." The boy moved fast. He opened the drawer and brought the package to Maya's side. "Open it. Don't touch the inside." He tore the package with careful hands. Maya took a square of gauze and dabbed at the incision site. She reached the uterus, cut through the muscle wall. Amniotic fluid gushed out, soaking the towels beneath Chiamaka's body. Maya's hands found the baby's feet. Breach. Just as she'd feared. She worked her fingers up the tiny body. Found the head. Applied gentle traction. The baby was impossibly small. Fragile. Maya's hands remembered this. On the exact pressure. The precise angle. Too much force and she'd cause damage. Too little and the baby would stay trapped. She pulled. The baby slid free in a rush of fluid and blood. 3 pounds. Maybe less. Purple-blue skin. Eyes sealed shut. No cry. Maya laid the baby on Chiamaka's chest, suctioned the nose and mouth, rubbed the tiny back with a towel. No response. She lifted the baby, placed her on a clean towel on the counter, tilted the head back, sealed her lips over the baby's nose and mouth. 2 gentle breaths. Nothing. She started compressions with 2 fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 breaths. Marcus made a sound in his throat. Not a word. Just a breaking. Maya kept going. Compressions. Breaths. Compressions. Breaths. The seconds stretched into eternity. Then the baby gasped. A thin, reedy cry filled the clinic. Maya's knees buckled. She caught herself against the counter. Her vision blurred. The baby wailed. Small fists jerked in the air. Maya wrapped her in a clean towel, placed her under the heat lamp meant for warming IV fluids. The baby kept crying. Good. Crying meant breathing. Breathing meant life. Maya turned back to Chiamaka. The girl's eyes were open now, groggy and confused. "You have a daughter," Maya whispered. Chiamaka blinked. Tears ran down her temples. Maya delivered the placenta, checked for bleeding, stitched the uterus closed. Layer by layer, she rebuilt what she'd cut. Muscle, fascia, fat, skin. Her hands moved without thought. This was the part she could do in her sleep. Had done in her sleep, back when surgery was her life. 90 minutes after the first incision, Maya tied off the final suture. She stripped off her gloves, staggered to the wall, slid down until she sat on the floor with her back against the cracked plaster. Her whole body shook. Marcus wrapped the baby in towels, adjusted the heat lamp. His hands were gentle, practiced. He'd done this before. The children crept closer. They gathered around their sister. Around the tiny niece they hadn't known existed an hour ago. The smallest girl approached Maya. She still held her stuffed rabbit. She crouched down until her face was level with Maya's. "Are you magic?" she whispered. Maya started crying. She hadn't cried in 10 years. Not since the day Emeka told her she was broken. Not since the day she walked out of Lagos University Teaching Hospital and didn't look back. But now the tears came in waves she couldn't stop. The little girl's eyes went wide. She reached out and patted Maya's hand. "Yes, it's okay. You saved my sister. You saved the baby. It's okay." Marcus knelt beside Maya. "What do we owe you?" Maya shook her head. She couldn't speak. "Please, tell me what this costs." "Nothing." The word came out broken. "Just Never tell anyone I did this. Marcus studied her face. He saw something there, something he didn't understand. But he nodded. No one will know. Dawn broke gray and pink outside the window. The generators quieted. The port district woke to another day. Marcus gathered his children. The oldest boy helped Chiamaka sit up. She was weak but stable. The baby slept under the heat lamp, her chest rising and falling in tiny, perfect breaths. Marcus wrapped the baby in the cleanest towels Maya had. He showed Chiamaka how to hold her, support the head, keep her warm. They left through the back door as the sun climbed over the shipping containers. Maya watched them go. A teenage mother who'd been a child herself 3 hours ago. A premature baby who weighed less than a bag of rice. 4 children who'd watched their sister brought back from the edge of death. And a father who'd seen Maya's hands save 2 lives with nothing but a folding table and desperation. She locked the door behind them, cleaned the blood from the floor, sterilized the instruments, threw away the soaked towels. By the time the first patient knocked on the front door that morning, the clinic looked exactly as it always did. But Maya's hands still remembered what they'd done in the dark. And somewhere in a 2-room apartment near the docks, a baby girl who shouldn't exist was learning how to breathe. But the clinic opened at 8 the following Monday. Maya treated a construction worker's sprained ankle, a vendor's infected cut, a child's ear infection. Normal work, predictable rhythms. At 10:30, the door opened. Marcus walked in carrying the baby. Chiamaka followed behind him, moving slowly. The other 4 children filed in after her. Maya's hands stilled on the blood pressure cuff she was cleaning. The incision, Marcus said quietly. I think it might be infected. Maya gestured to the examination table. Sit. Chiamaka eased herself onto the table with careful movements. She wore a loose dress that hid the bandage beneath. Her face was drawn, but no longer pale. Maya washed her hands, pulled on gloves, lifted the dress to expose the surgical site. The incision was clean. No redness, no swelling. The stitches held perfectly. It's healing well, Maya said. Are you sure? She said it hurt this morning. Maya looked at Chiamaka. The girl's eyes were downcast. Any fever? Chiamaka shook her head. Discharge from the wound? No. Maya pressed gently around the incision. Chiamaka winced but didn't cry out. It's supposed to hurt, Maya said. You had major surgery 6 days ago. The pain is normal, but there's no infection. Marcus's shoulders dropped. Thank God. Maya turned to the baby. Marcus had her wrapped in a clean towel. She was awake, her tiny eyes open and unfocused. May I? Marcus placed the baby in Maya's hands. She was so light, barely heavier than the towel she was wrapped in. Maya unwrapped her, counted fingers and toes, listened to her lungs and heart, checked her umbilical stump. Everything was as it should be. The baby's weight worried her. And she placed her on the small scale she used for medication measurements. 2.8 kilograms. She'd lost weight since birth. Is she eating? Maya asked. Chiamaka's voice was small. I don't know if I'm doing it right. Show me. Chiamaka lifted her dress, positioned the baby at her breast. The baby's mouth opened, latched, but her sucking was weak, and she pulled away after only a few seconds. Maya watched, adjusted Chiamaka's position, showed her how to support the baby's head, how to encourage her to latch deeper. The baby tried again. This time, she stayed latched longer. She's too small to feed efficiently, Maya said. You need to wake her every 2 hours, even at night. She'll want to sleep, but you can't let her. Not yet. Chiamaka's eyes filled with tears. I'm so tired. I know. Maya spent the next 20 minutes teaching. How to hold the baby, how to burp her, how to check if she was getting enough milk. Chiamaka absorbed it all with the desperate focus of someone trying not to drown. When they were done, Marcus pulled out his wallet. "What do I owe you?" "Nothing. You spent half an hour with us. You have other patients." Maya looked at the empty waiting room. She'd had 3 patients all morning. The Port District didn't generate much business. "I don't want your money." Marcus's jaw tightened. "Then let us help another way." Before Maya could respond, the oldest boy moved to the supply shelf. He started organizing bottles of pills that had been sitting in disorder for months. The second youngest girl approached an elderly woman who'd been waiting on the bench. She sat beside her and took her hand. And the middle boy found a broom in the corner and started sweeping. Adaisi climbed into a chair and watched Maya with enormous eyes. Maya opened her mouth to protest, to tell them all to stop, to send them away. But Marcus spoke first. "We'll come every day until Chiamaka heals and the baby is stronger. We'll help however you need. Fair?" Maya looked at the 5 children, at Chiamaka with the tiny baby at her breast, at Marcus with his quiet dignity and his impossible burden. She should say no. She should maintain distance. She should not let this family become part of her life. "Fair," she heard herself say. They came back the next day, and the next, and the one after that. By the end of the week, they'd established a routine. Marcus and Chiamaka and the baby came in the morning. Maya checked the incision and the baby's weight, taught Chiamaka new skills, answered her frightened questions. The other children made themselves useful. Chukwudi organized the supply closet with the precision of someone who understood systems. Chinello greeted patients with a warmth Maya had forgotten how to show. Emeka swept and mopped without being asked. Adaisi sat with the lonely elderly patients who came in just to have someone check their blood pressure and talk to them for 5 minutes. Marcus tried to pay every single day. Maya refused every single time. After the second week, they started staying later. The children would finish their tasks and then sit in the waiting room doing homework while Maya saw her last patients of the day. One evening, after everyone else had gone, Marcus helped Maya lock up. They stood outside the clinic in the thick evening air. The Port District was loud with the sounds of people heading home. "My wife was a nurse," Marcus said. Maya looked at him. He'd never talked about his wife before. Ngozi, she loved her work. She was brilliant at it. He stared at the shipping containers in the distance. "When Adaisi was born, something went wrong. A hemorrhage. It should have been treatable. Basic protocol. But the doctor on call was drunk. The equipment was broken. The hospital administrator had been cutting corners for years to pocket the money." His hands clenched. She bled for 40 minutes before anyone helped her. By then, it was too late. Maya's chest ached. "I sued. I had evidence. Witness statements. Medical records. I thought justice mattered." He laughed, without humor. "The administrator was connected to the governor's office. Within 6 months, every engineering firm in Lagos had blacklisted me. I haven't designed a building in 5 years." Maya understood that kind of fall, that kind of erasure. "My husband is a surgeon," she said quietly. Marcus waited. "Was my ex-husband, Dr. Emeka Okonkwo, head of surgery at Lagos University Teaching Hospital." She told him about the divorce, about the staff meeting, about the surgical resident with her pregnant belly and her triumphant smile. She didn't tell him about the rest, about who she'd been before, about what she'd lost. Some things stayed buried. They stood in silence. 2 people who'd been destroyed by the same city's cruelty. Chiamaka reminds me of her mother, Marcus said. Strong, scared, trying so hard to do everything right. She's doing well. Because of you. Maya shook her head. She's doing it herself. I'm just watching. You're teaching her how to keep her daughter alive. That's not nothing. The next day was a Saturday. The clinic was technically closed, but Maya heard knocking at 9 in the morning. All 5 children stood on the doorstep. No Marcus, no Chiamaka. Papa is working, Chukwudi explained. Chiamaka is resting. We thought we could help you clean. Maya let them in. They spent 3 hours scrubbing every surface. Chukwudi reorganized the entire supply system. Chinelo washed the windows. Emeka fixed a broken chair leg with wire and tape. Even Adaeze helped, wiping down the lower shelves with a rag bigger than her hands. Maya worked alongside them. It had been years since anyone had helped her with anything. When they finished, the clinic looked better than it had in months. Adaeze approached Maya, so she held her stuffed rabbit in one hand. "Can I call you Auntie Doctor?" Maya looked down at this small girl with hopeful eyes and too much grief already carried in her 5-year-old heart. Her throat closed. She couldn't speak. She nodded. Adaize's face split into a smile. She threw her arms around Maya's waist and held on tight. And Maya, who hadn't let anyone touch her with affection in 10 years, found her hands moving to rest on the child's back. The Port District talked. It always did. By the end of the 2nd week, Maya started noticing the stares. Women watched her at the market. Dock workers pointed when she walked past. Conversations stopped when she entered shops. The first pregnant woman arrived on a Tuesday morning. She was young, maybe 23. Her belly was large under her dress. She stood in the doorway wringing her hands. "Please, I heard you helped someone. I need prenatal care. The hospital costs too much." Maya's jaw tightened. "I don't do obstetrics. There's a public clinic in Ikeya. That's 2 hours away. I can't afford the transport." "I can't help you." The woman's face crumpled, but she left. 2 more came that afternoon. Maya turned them both away. By Thursday, there were 5. By Friday, 7. Each one had heard the same story. A teenage girl, a 3-pound baby, a miracle in a Port District clinic. Maya refused them all. The children noticed. Chukwudi watched her turn away a woman with twins. Chinelo saw her refuse a girl who looked barely older than Chiamaka. Even Adaeze stopped smiling when pregnant women walked through the door. On Saturday, a woman arrived just before closing. She was in her 30s. Her hands shook as she spoke. "Please, I've been to 3 hospitals. They all say I'm too high risk. They won't take me unless I pay up front. 50,000 naira. I don't have it." Maya didn't look up from wiping down the examination table. "I can't help you. You helped that girl. Everyone says you saved her and the baby both." "That was different? How? How was it different?" Maya's hands stopped moving. "Because I didn't have a choice." "Neither do I." The woman's voice broke. "Please, I'm 8 months along. If I go into labor, I'll die. The baby will die. You're my only option." Maya turned. Her face was hard. "Go to the hospital. Borrow the money. Sell something. Find a way. But I'm not that doctor." "Yes, you are. You saved." "I'm not." Maya's voice rose. "I don't do this anymore. I can't. I won't." The woman stepped forward. But you did it once. You can—" Maya crossed the room in 3 steps. She grabbed the woman's arm, pushed her toward the door, hard. "Get out." The woman stumbled backward. Tears streamed down her face. "Please, I'm begging you." "I'm not that doctor anymore." The words tore out of Maya's throat like something feral, something desperate. The woman backed through the door. Her hand rested on her swollen belly. She was still crying when she disappeared into the evening crowd. Maya slammed the door, locked it, stood with her forehead pressed against the wood. Her hands were shaking. Behind her, she heard movement. The children had been there. They'd seen everything. She didn't turn around. She waited until she heard them leave through the back door. Then she sat on the floor with her back against the wall and stared at nothing. Night fell, so the clinic grew dark. Maya didn't move to turn on the lights. At 8 o'clock, someone knocked. "It's locked," Maya said. The knock came again, persistent. "We're closed." The door handle rattled. Then Marcus's voice came through the wood. "Maya, open the door." She didn't answer. "I'm not leaving." Maya stood, unlocked the door. Marcus stepped inside. He closed the door behind him and stood looking at her in the dim light from the street. "The children told me what happened." "Good. Then you know why I don't need a lecture. Why won't you help them?" Maya's jaw locked. "That's none of your business. You have the skill. They need you. Why turn them away?" "Because I don't do this anymore." "You did it for Chiamaka. That was an emergency. So is this. That woman wasn't lying. If she goes into labor without help, so she'll die." Maya's voice went cold. "Then she should find someone else." Marcus stepped closer. "There is no one else. Not for people like her. Not in this district. You know that." "That's not my problem." "Then whose problem is it?" "I don't know." Maya's control snapped. "Anyone's but mine. I can't do this. I can't help these women. I can't watch them give birth to the children I couldn't have. I can't." Her voice broke. She turned away. The silence stretched, long and heavy. When Marcus spoke again, his voice was quiet, gentle. "Chiamaka is alive because you are that doctor. Grace is breathing because you never stopped being her. You don't understand. Then help me understand." Maya pressed her palms against her eyes. Her whole body trembled. "I was chief of obstetrics," she whispered, "at Lagos University Teaching Hospital. And for 3 years, I pioneered a surgical technique for high-risk pregnancies. It reduced maternal mortality by 40%. I trained doctors across West Africa. I published research. I appeared on magazine covers. They called me the woman saving mothers." She dropped her hands, stared at the dark clinic. "And then my husband stood in front of our entire department and told them he was leaving me. Because I was barren. Because after 6 fertility treatments and 7 years of marriage, my body couldn't give him children. He said some women are meant to save lives. Others are meant to create them. And I was only capable of one." Her voice went flat. "Dead." The surgical resident he was leaving me for was 4 months pregnant. She stood there with her hand on her belly while he said it. The whole room saw. Everyone I'd trained. Oh, everyone I'd worked with. They all knew. Marcus didn't move. Within a year, I lost everything. My position, my reputation, the surgical technique I developed. They renamed it after another doctor. The Okonkwo technique, my married name. People assumed it was Emeka who created it. He never corrected them. He's been accepting awards for my work for a decade. Maya turned to face Marcus. "So no, I can't help those women. Every pregnancy I see is a reminder of what my body failed to do. Every baby I deliver is proof that I wasn't enough. I walked away because staying was killing me. And I'm not going back." The words hung in the darkness. Marcus took a slow breath. When he spoke, his voice was still quiet, still gentle. "Did you fail, Chiamaka?" Maya's breath caught. What? Did you fail my daughter?" "No. Did you fail, Grace? No. Then you didn't fail. You walked away. There's a difference. And walking away from something you love because you're in pain doesn't mean you stopped being extraordinary. It means you're human. Maya's vision blurred. But staying away, Marcus continued, when you have the power to save lives and you choose not to, that's not protecting yourself. That's letting him win. He stepped to the door, paused with his hand on the handle. You saved my daughter. You saved my grandchild. You gave my family a miracle when we had nothing left to hope for. And now there are women out there who need the same miracle. They're dying, Maya, because the one person who could save them has decided she's too broken to try. He opened the door. Street light spilled across the floor. My wife died because a hospital administrator cared more about money than lives. Don't let those women die because you care more about your pain than theirs. He left. The door clicked shut behind him. Maya stood alone in the dark clinic with tears streaming down her face and a question she couldn't answer burning in her chest. What was she more afraid of? Failing to save them, or discovering she still could? 2 months passed. Grace gained weight. Chiamaka learned to be a mother. The clinic became something Maya hadn't expected, a place where children laughed and patients smiled, and the hours didn't feel quite so heavy. Then Emeka walked through the door. Maya was bandaging a vendor's cut hand when she heard the commotion outside. Voices, equipment, the shuffle of multiple feet. The door swung open. Dr. Emeka Okonkwo entered first. He wore a tailored suit that probably cost more than Maya made in 6 months. Behind him came a woman with a swollen belly and a camera crew with bright lights. Then a delegation of doctors in white coats. All of them from Lagos University Teaching Hospital. Maya's hand froze on the bandage. Emeka's smile was wide, performative. He spread his arms like he was greeting an old friend. Maya, how wonderful to see you. She couldn't speak, couldn't move. Chiamaka sat in the corner nursing Grace. Chukwudi was organizing supplies. Chinelo held an elderly woman's hand. Adaizi played with her rabbit on the floor. The camera lights turned on. Ladies and gentlemen, Emeka said, his voice projecting to fill the small space. This is exactly why our community health initiative matters. Oh, here we have a former colleague of mine who's found her calling serving the underserved. A cameraman circled the room, captured the peeling paint, the worn equipment, Maya's threadbare clothes. Emeka's wife stood beside him. Her hand rested on her pregnant belly. Her smile was kind, pitying. It's heartwarming, Emeka continued, to see former colleagues who couldn't handle the pressures of real medicine finding purpose in simpler work. He paused, let the cameras absorb his magnanimity. Not everyone is cut out for the operating room. Some of us are called to greatness. Others are called to service. Both are valuable. The doctors behind him nodded, murmured agreement. Emeka walked deeper into the clinic. His eyes landed on Chiamaka, on the baby at her breast. He stopped in front of her. The camera followed. Though I do hope, he said, his tone shifting to concern, that you're referring obstetric cases to actual specialists. These situations require expertise, not good intentions. His wife touched her belly, smiled at the camera. Maya stood rooted to the floor, her throat closed, her vision narrowed. This was the staff meeting again. This was Emeka announcing his pregnancy, his new life, her inadequacy. This was every moment of the last 10 years compressed into 30 seconds of humiliation. And the cameras captured all of it. Emeka turned back to her. It's truly admirable what you're doing here, serving those who have nowhere else to go. We all find our place eventually, don't we? He handed her an envelope. A small donation from the hospital. For supplies. Consider it our support for your efforts. The cameras zoomed in on Maya's face, on her silence. On the way, her hands hung useless at her sides. Then Emeka and his entourage left. The lights went dark. The door closed. Maya didn't move. Chukwudi approached slowly. "Auntie Doctor?" She couldn't look at him. The clinic was silent except for Grace's soft nursing sounds. Marcus arrived an hour later. He found Maya standing exactly where Emeka had left her. The envelope lay unopened on the floor. "They're gone," Marcus said quietly. Maya's voice came out hollow. "He brought cameras." "I know. He called this simpler work." "I know. He implied I'm not qualified to—" Her voice cracked. "After everything She couldn't finish. Marcus picked up the envelope, opened it. Inside was a check for 500 naira. Barely enough to buy bandages. "They filmed all of it," Maya whispered. "The whole clinic. Chiamaka nursing. The children. Me standing there like nothing. Like no one. Like exactly what Emeka had said she was." Marcus pulled out his phone. His face went grim. "It's already online." He turned the screen toward her. The video had been posted to the hospital's social media. The caption read, "Dr. Emeka Okonkwo brings hope to struggling community clinics. Leadership that cares. Hashtag community first. Hashtag real medicine." The comments were already flooding in. "Is that Maya Okonkwo? Oh, wow. I remember her from the hospital. Always thought she was overrated. This is sad. She used to be somebody. Guess we know who couldn't handle the pressure." Maya's hands started shaking. Marcus took the phone back. "Don't read them." But she'd already seen enough. She walked to the back room. Marcus followed. She unlocked the filing cabinet and pulled out the wooden box, opened it, took out the photograph. "This was me," she said. "Chief of Obstetrics. Award for pioneering surgical technique. I saved hundreds of mothers. Trained doctors across 3 continents." She set the photo on the table. "I developed a technique for high-risk pregnancies. It reduced maternal mortality by 40%. 40%. Do you know how many lives that is?" Her voice was rising, breaking. "They named it the Okonkwo technique. After me. After my work. My research. My years of trial and refinement." She laughed bitterly. "Except now it's credited to Dr. E. Okonkwo. Everyone assumes it's Emeka. He's been accepting awards for it for 10 years. My technique, my life's work." Marcus's jaw tightened. "And today, he stood in my clinic and called what I do here simpler work. He implied I'm not qualified. He pitied me on camera in front of the entire medical community." She picked up the photograph, stared at the woman she used to be. "He divorced me in a staff meeting, announced he was leaving me for a surgical resident who was pregnant with his child. He told everyone that some women are meant to save lives and some are meant to create them, and I was only capable of one." Her fingers tightened on the frame. They all watched, my colleagues, people I trained, and within a year I lost everything, my position, my reputation, the technique I created, even my name on my own work. She set the photo down. "So yes, this is simpler work, because I couldn't survive doing what I was extraordinary at. Oh, because every baby I delivered was a reminder that my own body was broken. Because staying meant dying." The silence stretched long. Marcus looked at the photograph, at the woman in surgical scrubs surrounded by colleagues. Then he looked at Maya, standing in front of him now. Gray hair, worn clothes, hands that saved lives with nothing but determination. Walking away from something you love because you're in pain doesn't mean you stopped being extraordinary. he said quietly. "It means you're human." Maya's breath hitched. "But letting him make you believe you're less than you are," Marcus continued, "that's letting him win twice. Once, when he took your work, and again, when he took your belief in yourself." He picked up the photograph. This woman saved hundreds of lives. But the woman who saved Chiamaka and Grace with a folding table and a prayer, that woman is just as extraordinary. Maybe more. Maya's vision blurred. "He can't take that from you," Marcus said, "unless you let him." Outside, the port district settled into evening. Generators hummed. Vendors called their last sales. Life continued like nothing had changed. But inside the clinic, Maya stared at the photograph and wondered which hurt more, being destroyed by the person who was supposed to love her, or discovering she'd been destroying herself ever since. 3 weeks after the video went viral, 2 men in suits arrived at the clinic. They showed Maya their credentials. Medical Board of Nigeria. They had received a complaint regarding unauthorized obstetric surgery performed in unlicensed facilities. Maya's hands went cold. "May we see your license?" She pulled it from the drawer. They examined it carefully. Their faces remained neutral. "Your license is valid for general practice only. Is that correct?" "Yes. But you performed a cesarean section on a minor, here, in this clinic." Maya's throat closed. She was dying. There was no time. "That's not what we're here to determine." The older investigator pulled out a form. "We need to ask you some questions." They questioned her for 2 hours. Every detail of the surgery, her credentials, her training, why she'd left Lagos University Teaching Hospital, why her license was restricted, whether she'd performed other unauthorized procedures. Marcus arrived halfway through. They questioned him too. When had he brought Chiamaka? Why hadn't he taken her to a hospital? Did he know Maya was not licensed for obstetrics? His answers were quiet, steady. "My daughter would have died. Dr. Okonkwo saved her life." The investigators took notes. They photographed the clinic. They examined her instruments. They left without telling her what would happen next. That evening, Emeka's campaign released a statement. "We are deeply concerned by reports of unsafe medical practices in vulnerable communities. Dr. Okonkwo's situation demonstrates why proper oversight and professional standards matter. As president of the Nigerian Medical Association, I will ensure no patient is put at risk by unqualified practitioners operating beyond their scope." The local news picked it up. "Rogue doctor under investigation for dangerous procedures." The story spread fast. By the end of the week, patients stopped coming. Yet the waiting room stayed empty. The few who did show up apologized. They couldn't risk being associated with an investigation. They had families to protect. Maya sat alone in the clinic and watched her second life collapse. Marcus tried to fight. He contacted journalists. He wrote letters to the medical board. He tried to organize support from the community. "Stop," Maya told him. "They're destroying you." "I destroyed myself." She looked around the empty clinic. "I knew this would happen. I knew the moment I made that first cut that I was breaking the rules. And I did it anyway. You saved Chiamaka. And now I'm paying the price." Marcus's jaw tightened. "So, you're just giving up?" "I'm accepting reality." Maya pulled a cardboard box from the storage room. "This was always temporary. I was always going to lose." She started packing. Medical supplies, files, the equipment she'd accumulated over years of scraping by. The children came that afternoon. They found her taking down the posters on the walls. Chukwudi stood in the doorway. What are you doing? Closing. Because of the investigation? Because I can't practice here anymore. His face crumbled. Does this mean I can't study medicine? Maya's chest tightened. What? You were going to teach me. I was going to work here while I went to school. That's what you said. But if you're not a real doctor anymore, I am a real doctor. Then why are you quitting? She had no answer. Chiamaka entered holding Grace. The baby was 4 months old now, healthy, growing. Is this my fault? Because I was the one who… No, Maya's voice cracked. This is my fault. I should have told your father to take you to the hospital. I should have followed the rules. I should never have tried to be something I'm not. Adaize pushed past her siblings. Tears streamed down her face. You're leaving. Maya couldn't look at her. But you're anti-doctor. You can't leave. I have to. Why? Because staying meant fighting. And Maya didn't know how to fight anymore. She'd spent 10 years learning how to disappear, how to make herself small, how to accept that she wasn't enough. Sometimes things don't work out, Maya whispered. Adaize's fingers tightened on her stuffed rabbit. But you're magic. You saved Chiamaka. You saved Grace. You can save anything. Maya knelt in front of the little girl. I'm not magic, Adaize. I'm just a person. And sometimes people fail. You didn't fail. The bad people are trying to hurt you. Maybe I deserve it. The words hung in the air, and Marcus appeared in the doorway. He must have heard everything. His face was hard. Take the children home, Maya said. Maya, please. He gathered his children, shepherded them out. Adaize looked back over her shoulder, still crying. When they were gone, Maya finished packing. She sealed the boxes, stacked them against the wall. The sun set. The clinic grew dark. She didn't turn on the lights. At 8 o'clock, Marcus came back, alone. The children are with a neighbor. Maya didn't respond. He pulled a chair over, sat across from her in the darkness. You're really doing this? Yes? After everything. Because of everything. Maya's voice was hollow. This is who I am, Marcus. Someone who runs, someone who hides, someone who loses. I tried to pretend I could be more. But the universe keeps reminding me what I'm worth. The universe isn't doing this. Amika is. The hospital administrator is. The same people who destroyed you before are trying to destroy you again. Maybe they're right. No. You don't know what I've done, what I've lost, who I've failed to be. Marcus leaned forward. I know you saved my daughter's life. I know you saved my grandchild. I know you've built something here that matters. I built a lie. Maya gestured at the empty clinic. I pretended I could help people, but I was just hiding. And now it's over. She stood, pulled the clinic keys from her pocket, held them out to him. Give these to the landlord. Tell him I won't be back. Marcus stared at the keys. You're serious? I'm done. He didn't take them. So what happens to the women who need you? They find someone else. There is no one else. Not in this district. You know that. That's not my problem anymore. Yes, it is. Marcus's voice deepened. Because you're the one who can help them. And you're choosing not to. I don't have a choice. The medical board hasn't shut you down yet. They're investigating. That's all. But you're closing before they even make a decision. Maya's hand trembled around the keys. What do you want from me? I want you to fight. I can't. You can. You just won't. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. Marcus stood. You're scared. You're hurt. You've been beaten down so many times, that you think losing is inevitable. So you're giving up before anyone can take it from you. Maya's breath hitched. But that's not protecting yourself, Marcus said quietly. That's letting them win. He walked to the door, stopped with his hand on the frame. Keep the keys, or throw them away. That's your choice. But don't tell those children this is about what you deserve. Because what you deserve is to be exactly who you were always meant to be. And they deserve to have you fight for that. He left. Maya stood alone in the dark clinic, holding the keys that felt like they weighed 1,000 pounds, wondering if there was any fight left in her, or if Amika and the medical board and 10 years of shame had finally beaten it out of her completely. Maya hadn't left the clinic in a week. She slept on the cot in the back room, ate crackers from the supply cabinet, waited for the medical board's final decision that would end everything. The pounding on the door came at 2 in the morning. She opened it. Marcus stood there with Grace in his arms. The baby's lips were blue. She can't breathe. Maya's training kicked in before her mind could catch up. She took the baby, felt her chest, listened to her lungs. Grace's breathing was rapid and shallow. Her skin was hot. Her oxygen saturation was dropping. How long? She's been sick for 2 days, fever, coughing. Then an hour ago, she started making this sound. Marcus's voice cracked. Like she's drowning. Maya laid Grace on the examination table. The baby's chest heaved with each breath. Her ribs pulled inward. She was working too hard. Tiring. Behind Marcus, the other 4 children crowded in the doorway. Chiamaka's face was wet with tears. Maya checked Grace's vitals. Heart rate dangerously high, temperature 40 degrees Celsius, oxygen saturation 78% and falling. This was respiratory failure. She needs a NICU now. Marcus's jaw locked. The nearest hospital is 40 minutes away. I know. It's the same hospital that... I know. He didn't need to finish. And the same hospital that killed his wife, run by the administrator trying to destroy Maya. But that didn't matter now. Go, Maya said. Take her. Call ahead. Tell them she's crashing. Marcus didn't move. He stared at Grace, at her blue lips, her labored breathing. She won't make it, he whispered. Maya checked the oxygen saturation again. 72%, still dropping. He was right. Grace's breathing pattern changed, slower, irregular. She was giving up. Maya's mind raced through options, through years of training, through protocols designed for hospitals with equipment and backup and teams of specialists. She had none of that. Grace's chest stopped moving. Maya's hands moved on autopilot. She tilted the baby's head back, sealed her mouth over Grace's tiny nose and mouth. 2 gentle breaths. The baby's chest rose, fell, rose again, but she wasn't breathing on her own. Maya looked up at Marcus. I need to intubate her. Here? Yes. Can you... I don't know. Maya's voice was steady, clinical. But if I don't, she dies in the next 5 minutes. Marcus's breath shuddered. Do it. Maya grabbed her phone, texted an address to a contact she hadn't spoken to in 10 years, a colleague who'd left the hospital the same year she did, who'd believed her when no one else would. She typed, need pediatric supplies, life or death, coming now. Then she turned to Marcus. Drive to this address, get everything she says to give you, fast. He took the phone, read the address. That's across the city. I know. It'll take 40 minutes. Then leave now. He hesitated, looked at Grace, at Maya. She'll be alive when you get back, Maya said. I promise. It was a promise she had no right to make. Marcus ran. Maya turned to Chukwudi. Flashlight, bright as you can make it. Don't let it move. The boy positioned himself, held the light steady. Maya pulled out her adult endotracheal tubes. All wrong. Too big. Grace was 3 months old, premature, barely 8 pounds. She grabbed the smallest tube she had, modified it with scissors, improvised a connector from IV tubing. It wouldn't fit properly, but it might work. She positioned Grace's head, opened her mouth, used a tongue depressor as a makeshift laryngoscope. She could barely see the vocal cords. Too small, too fragile. One wrong move and she'd tear the tissue, cause bleeding, make everything worse. Her hand didn't shake. She threaded the tube through, gentle, precise. Years of muscle memory guiding her. And the tube slipped past the cords, into the trachea. She connected her bag valve mask, squeezed. Grace's chest rose. Oxygen saturation started climbing. 78, 82, 87. But Maya couldn't stop. She had to manually ventilate every breath, every squeeze of the bag, for however long it took. Chiamaka sobbed in the corner. Adeze knelt on the floor, eyes closed, lips moving in silent prayer. Maya squeezed the bag, counted. 1 breath every 3 seconds. Watch the chest rise, watch it fall. Again. Her arms started to ache after 20 minutes. After an hour, they burned. After 2 hours, she couldn't feel them. But she didn't stop. Chukwudi's hands trembled from holding the flashlight. Maya told him to switch with Emeka. The boy moved without question. The children rotated. Light. Prayer. Silence. Waiting. Maya breathed for Grace. At 3:45 a.m., Marcus burst through the door. His arms were full of supplies. Pediatric endotracheal tubes. Proper connectors. A portable oxygen concentrator. Medications. Maya didn't look up. Set it on the table. Wash your hands. He obeyed. She walked him through replacing the improvised tube with a proper one, through setting up the oxygen concentrator, through administering antibiotics and steroids. Her voice was calm, steady, the voice of Chief of Obstetrics at Lagos University Teaching Hospital, the voice of a doctor who'd saved hundreds of lives, the voice she thought she'd lost 10 years ago. It had been there all along. By 5 a.m., Grace's oxygen saturation stabilized at 94%. Her breathing eased. Her color improved. Maya sat back. Her arms shook with exhaustion. Chiamaka approached the table, touched her daughter's hand. She's breathing, Maya said. She's fighting. She's going to survive. Chiamaka collapsed into her father's arms. Adeze wrapped herself around Maya's legs. Chukwudi stood with his hand on his younger brother's shoulder. Outside, the sky lightened. Dawn broke over the port district. Generators hummed to life. The city woke. Maya checked Grace's vitals one more time. All improving. Stable. She'd done it. With jury-rigged equipment and sheer desperate skill, she'd pulled a 3-month-old preemie back from respiratory failure. Marcus's phone rang. He answered, listened. His face changed. That was the supply hospital, he said quietly. The nurse who helped me recognized my name. She remembered Ngozi. She asked what was happening. Maya's stomach dropped. I told her the truth. Marcus met her eyes. I told her, Dr. Maya Okonkwo just saved my grandchild's life. Again. Marcus, she's calling people. Doctors she knows, medical students, anyone who'll listen. He showed her his phone. Text messages were already coming through. Word spreading. Maya looked at Grace, at this impossible baby who'd survived being born 3 months early in a clinic with no NICU, who'd survived respiratory failure with improvised equipment, and a doctor who wasn't supposed to practice obstetrics anymore. This time, she hadn't walked away. This time, when the choice came, give up or fight. She'd fought. And now the whole medical community was about to know that the doctor they'd written off, the woman they'd pitied and dismissed, here was still exactly who she'd always been, someone who saved lives when everyone else said it couldn't be done. The post appeared at 6:30 in the morning, 3 days after Maya saved Grace's life. Dr. Patricia Adebayo had been Maya's surgical resident in 2014. She'd trained under Maya for 2 years, learned the Okonkwo technique from the woman who invented it, then watched her mentor disappear after the divorce. She'd kept silent for 10 years, but the video of Emeka's campaign visit had made her sick, and the news about the medical board investigation had made her angry. She wrote her post carefully. She checked every fact. She attached photos from conferences where Maya had presented her research. She linked to published papers with Maya's name as lead author. Then she hit send. For those sharing that hit piece about Maya Okonkwo, I trained under her. She taught me everything I know. She pioneered the Okonkwo technique that saved thousands of mothers across West Africa. And apparently, she's still out here saving babies in a port clinic with nothing but skill and prayer, while her ex-husband takes credit for her legacy. We should all be ashamed. Within an hour, it had 500 shares. By noon, 5,000. Medical students started digging. They found Maya's published research in academic journals. They found speeches she'd given at international conferences. They found the original papers describing the surgical technique, all authored by Dr. Maya Okonkwo. They found textbooks that credited the technique to Dr. E. Okonkwo, with no first name. They found award ceremonies where Emeka had accepted honors for his pioneering work in maternal-fetal medicine. They found 10 years of theft, hiding in plain sight. The hashtag started trending. The woman who saved thousands. Medical Twitter erupted. Students demanded answers. Doctors who'd trained under Maya came forward with their own stories. A medical journalist named Amara Nwosu saw the thread at 2 in the afternoon. By 4, she was knocking on Maya's clinic door. Dr. Okonkwo, I'd like to talk to you about what really happened 10 years ago. Maya sat in the empty clinic. Patients still weren't coming, and told her story. Not just the humiliation, not just the technique that was stolen, but the decades of work, the lives saved, the legacy erased. Amara recorded every word. The exposé published the next morning. The woman who saved thousands then disappeared. What really happened to Dr. Maya Okonkwo? It went viral immediately. The medical board called an emergency meeting. The investigation into Maya's unauthorized surgery was reviewed. The complaint had come from Mr. Okafor, the hospital administrator, but his documentation was inconsistent. His timeline didn't match. His accusations fell apart under scrutiny. Medical students found something else. Records from 2021. The year Marcus's wife died. The year Mr. Okafor had been investigated for medical negligence and financial fraud. The investigation had been buried by political connections. Until now. The medical board dropped the case against Maya. They launched a new investigation into Mr. Okafor. Within a week, he was suspended. Within 2, he was arrested. Emeka's campaign collapsed in real time. The surgical technique scandal hit first. Medical schools started correcting their textbooks. Conference organizers rescinded awards. The Nigerian Medical Association quietly withdrew their support. Then his wife found the exposé. She read about the staff meeting, about the humiliation, about the decade of credit stolen from the woman he'd discarded. She filed for divorce the next day. Emeka's campaign manager released a statement. Dr. Okonkwo was withdrawing from the election due to personal matters. He would be taking time away from public life. Maya watched it all unfold from her clinic. Her phone rang constantly. Journalists, former colleagues, medical students wanting to interview her. She ignored most of them. Then Lagos University Teaching Hospital called, and the Dean of Medicine wanted to meet. He came to the clinic, a man in an expensive suit standing in her threadbare waiting room. Dr. Okonkwo, on behalf of the hospital, I want to apologize. What happened to you was unconscionable. The way you were treated, the credit you were denied, all of it. Maya said nothing. We'd like to offer you your position back. Chief of Obstetrics. Full restoration of credentials. Public apology. Everything. Maya looked at him. Why now? Because it's the right thing to do. It was the right thing to do 10 years ago. You're only here because I became famous again. The dean's face reddened. Dr. Okonkwo, thank you for the offer, but no. She walked him to the door, closed it behind him, stood in the silence of her empty clinic. That evening, Marcus came with the children. Grace was healthy now, but her lungs were strong. She was growing. A daisy ran to Maya and wrapped herself around her legs. Auntie Doctor, Papa says people on the phone keep calling you amazing. Is that true? Maya knelt, brushed the girl's hair back from her face. I don't know about amazing, but I'm trying. Marcus waited until the children were occupied. The university wants you back. I know. You said no. I did. Why? Maya looked around the clinic, at the peeling paint, the worn equipment, the children who'd made this place their second home. Because going back would mean returning to who I was, and I don't want to be her anymore. She turned to face him. I want to expand this place, turn it into a full maternal health center, prenatal care, delivery services, postpartum support, a free care for women who can't afford hospital fees. Marcus studied her face. That's a big project. I know. It'll cost money you don't have. The exposé brought donors. People want to help. It'll take years to build. Then we'll take years. She took a breath. I want Chukwudi to work here while he studies for medical school. I want Chiamaka to help run a teen mother support group. I want to train midwives from the community. I want to build something that matters. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Why us? Maya looked at his 5 children. Chukwudi was helping Chiamaka with Grace. Chinelo and Emeka were playing with the medical equipment they'd learned to organize. Adaize was humming while she colored. Because you chose me when I was broken, Maya said. When I had nothing to offer. When I was hiding from everything I'd lost. You brought your family here, and you saw me, not who I used to be. Not what I'd failed to become. Just me. Her voice softened. Now I'm choosing all of you. Not because I have to. Because I want to. Because somewhere in these last few months, you stopped being patients and became family. And I think maybe I'm finally ready to choose that. Marcus's eyes were wet. We already chose you, months ago. We were just waiting for you to choose yourself. Adaize looked up from her coloring. Does this mean you're not leaving, Auntie Doctor? Maya pulled the little girl into her lap. No, sweetheart. I'm not leaving. I'm staying. And we're going to build something beautiful together. The Port District hummed outside. Generators rattled. Vendors called their final sales. Life continued as it always had. But inside the clinic, something had shifted. Something had been reclaimed. Not Maya's old position, not her old title, not the accolades and recognition that had been stolen. Something deeper. Something that couldn't be taken by a husband's cruelty, or a medical board's investigation, or 10 years of shame. The knowledge that she was exactly who she'd always been, a doctor who saved lives, a woman who fought for the forgotten, and now, finally, a mother to 5 children who'd chosen her not because of what she could give them, but because of who she was when everything else had been stripped away. 6 months later, the Maya Obi Maternal Health Center opened its doors in the heart of the Port District. The building was modest but clean. 2 stories, fresh paint, solar panels on the roof, wide windows that let in the morning light. And the old clinic still stood next door, too small for what they were building, but Maya kept it as office space, a reminder of where they'd started. Hundreds of people gathered for the ribbon cutting, women from the Port District who'd watched the construction with hopeful eyes, medical students who'd followed Maya's story online, journalists who wanted to document the ending, doctors who'd trained under Maya years ago and wanted to be part of what came next. Marcus stood beside her in a pressed shirt. His 5 children surrounded them. Chiamaka held Grace, 9 months old now, healthy and thriving. The baby pulled at her mother's hair and babbled. Chiamaka smoothed it down with the practiced hands of a mother who'd learned everything the hard way. The Chukwudi wore a name tag that read, Pre-Med Student, Volunteer Coordinator. He'd been accepted to university. He'd start in the fall. But he'd keep working here, helping train the next generation. Chinello and Amika stood behind a registration table they'd helped set up. They knew every woman in the district by name. Adaize gripped Maya's hand. She wore a yellow dress. Her stuffed rabbit was tucked under her other arm. The crowd quieted. Maya stepped to the microphone. 10 years ago, I walked away from medicine, she said. Her voice carried across the courtyard. I told myself I wasn't good enough, that I'd failed, that I didn't deserve to practice the work I loved. The medical students in the crowd leaned forward. Then, a man with 5 children walked into my clinic with a crisis I couldn't solve. I thought I couldn't. She glanced at Marcus. He asked me to try anyway. And that choice, that terrifying, desperate choice to try when I was certain I'd fail, changed everything. She looked at the building behind her, at the sign above the door. This center isn't named after me because I'm special. It's named after a family, the Obi family, because they taught me that worth isn't measured by what you achieve or what your body can do. It's measured by who you show up for when it costs you everything. Chiamaka's eyes filled with tears. This center will offer free prenatal care, free delivery services, postpartum support, teen mother programs. We'll train midwives from this community. We'll serve the women who've been told they don't matter. And we'll do it together. She picked up the scissors. Adaize's hand stayed wrapped around hers. Together, they cut the ribbon. The crowd erupted. Applause echoed off the buildings. Women surged forward. Some wanted to hug Maya. Others wanted to register for services. Medical students asked about volunteer opportunities. Chiamaka stood at a microphone set up near the entrance. She spoke to a small group of teenage girls, some pregnant, some not, all listening with the intensity of people who saw themselves in her story. I was 14 when Grace was born, Chiamaka said. I didn't know I was pregnant. I didn't know what to do. But Dr. Maya taught me. She showed me how to be a mother when I was still a child myself. Grace reached for her mother's face. Chiamaka caught her hand and kissed it. If you're scared, that's okay. If you don't know what you're doing, that's okay too. We'll figure it out together. That's what this place is for. Chukwudi led tours through the facility, showed groups the prenatal exam rooms, the delivery suite, the recovery area. the lactation consultation space. My grandmother died in childbirth, he told one group, because the hospital didn't care enough to save her. This center exists so that never happens again. A reporter approached Maya, microphone extended, camera rolling. Dr. Okonkwo, do you feel vindicated? Maya looked across the courtyard, at Marcus helping elderly women find seats, at Chiamaka teaching young mothers about infant care, at Chukwudi's animated explanations, at Chinelo and Amika laughing with patients at the registration table, at Adaizi introducing visitors to Mama Maya. No, Maya said, I feel like I finally came home. Across the street, a black car sat idling. Dr. Amika Okonkwo watched from behind tinted windows. Unemployed, divorced, alone. His second wife had taken the children. His reputation was in ruins, and the medical community that had celebrated him now treated his name like poison. He watched his ex-wife smile, watched her surrounded by children who weren't hers but called her mama, watched her cut a ribbon for a center that would serve more women in a year than he'd helped in his entire career. He drove away. The celebration continued until sunset. Then the crowd slowly dispersed. Patients were directed to come back tomorrow for the official opening day. Medical students exchanged contact information. Journalists packed up their equipment. Marcus and Maya walked through the empty center as twilight fell. Their footsteps echoed in the clean hallways. First patient comes tomorrow at 8, Marcus said. I know. Are you ready? Maya paused in the doorway of a delivery room. The bed was made with fresh sheets. Equipment stood ready. Everything she'd need to bring a baby safely into the world. Yes, she said. I'm ready. They locked up together, started walking toward Marcus's apartment. The children had run ahead, eager to get home. Maya's phone buzzed. A text from the night nurse. Patient just arrived, 37 weeks. Contractions 5 minutes apart. Says she can't afford the hospital. Can we take her? Maya stopped walking. Marcus saw her face. Go, he said. We'll wait up. Maya ran. She unlocked the center, found the woman in the waiting area, young, scared, alone. I'm Dr. Okonkwo, Maya said. Let's get you to a delivery room. 4 hours later, Marcus arrived with all 5 children. They'd brought dinner. They sat in the waiting area while Maya worked. At 11:30, a baby's cry filled the center. Maya emerged, exhausted, radiant. Healthy girl, 7 pounds. Mother's doing well. Chiamaka stood. Can I see her? Both of them. Come on. They filed into the recovery room. The new mother held her daughter. Her face glowed with wonder and terror and love. Chiamaka approached. I'm Chiamaka. I had my baby here too. Well, in the old clinic. If you need help, I'm here. The woman's eyes filled with tears. Thank you. Maya cleaned up, filled out paperwork, made sure mother and baby were stable. Adaize appeared in the doorway. She'd been watching quietly. Auntie Doctor? Maya looked up. Yes, sweetheart? Did you do magic again? Maya knelt, pulled the little girl into her arms. No magic, just medicine. It looks like magic to me. Maya held her. This child who'd asked the same question 9 months ago in a dark clinic while her sister bled on a table. Who'd watched Maya save 2 lives with nothing but desperate skill. Who'd called her Auntie Doctor and then Mama Maya, and who'd never once doubted that Maya was exactly who she needed to be. Maybe it is, Maya whispered. Maybe it always was. She stood, looked at the family surrounding her, at Marcus watching with quiet pride, at Chiamaka holding grace, at Chukwudi and Emeka and Chinelo, at the center she'd built, at the woman and baby sleeping safely in the next room. at the hundreds of women who'd come tomorrow and the day after, and every day after that. She'd been called barren, broken, incapable of creating life. But standing here with 5 children who'd chosen her and a building full of equipment, ready to save mothers and babies, and a future that stretched out with purpose and meaning, Maya knew the truth. A motherhood was never about biology. It was about showing up, choosing love, fighting for the people who needed you even when the world said they didn't matter. And by that measure, Maya Okonkwo wasn't barren. She was abundant beyond measure.